Your story, written in a direct, emotionally compelling style without fluff and fully optimized for a faceless video narrative. I always thought my family was solid. My dad was the type who did everything right. Early riser, packed lunches, fixed whatever broke in the house, remembered birthdays without a reminder. He never missed a single school event. Even when he was dead tired from work, he'd still ask how my day went like it actually mattered. To him, it did. My mom was different. She was graceful, always well-dressed, and liked things her way. She smiled in public, but at home she was more absent. Not physically always around, but emotionally distant. I didn't think too hard about it at first. Some people are just more reserved, I told myself. And my dad never seemed to complain. He adored her, even when she didn't seem to return the energy. Then came the day everything shifted. I had a morning class canceled and headed back home to grab my laptop charger. The house was quiet when I walked in, too quiet. I heard voices, laughter actually from the living room. I paused, confused. My dad wasn't supposed to be home. I crept toward the hallway. The voice wasn't his. It was hers, laughing in a way I hadn't heard in years. Then came the man's voice. Playful. Too familiar. I moved quietly, careful not to step on the loose floorboard. I peeked just enough to see them. My mom, sitting close to a man on the couch, touching his arm, her head tilted in a way I'd only seen her do with my dad in old photos. I backed away before they saw me. My hands were shaking. I grabbed my charger and left the house like I was being chased. I didn't even know where I was walking. I just had to move. The image stuck in my head like a splinter. Her laughter. The way she looked at him. The intimacy. It wasn't vague. It wasn't innocent. It was betrayal, and I'd seen it with my own eyes. I didn't want to believe it, but I knew exactly what I saw. There was no room for doubt. I didn't tell anyone. Not right away. I didn't know how. My dad didn't deserve this, and I didn't want to be the one to break his world. I kept going through the motions, but something in me had shifted. I stopped hugging my mom. I avoided her eyes. She noticed, asked me what was wrong, but I said I was just tired. But inside, I was angry, furious, and at the same time, heartbroken. I kept wondering why. Why cheat on someone like my dad? He gave her everything. Was it not enough? Every morning after that, watching my dad pack her lunch like nothing was wrong felt like a stab to the gut. He still kissed her cheek before she left for work. And I stood there, pretending I didn't know the truth. But I did. And it was eating me alive. She kept asking if something was bothering me. I kept saying no. My answers got shorter, colder. I didn't want to look at her, and I hated myself for being too afraid to say anything. My silence felt like betrayal, but not as bad as hers. My dad didn't notice my shift, or if he did, he didn't say anything. He just kept being himself. Waking up early, making breakfast, leaving notes on the fridge for both of us. One night, I heard him humming while cooking dinner. I had to walk away before I lost it. I started helping him more, cleaning, folding laundry, running errands. At first, it was just something to do to distract myself. But over time, I realized I actually wanted to be around him. He didn't deserve to be alone in this, even if he didn't know what was happening. He seemed surprised at how much we started doing together. I don't think he realized how much I needed it. One Saturday, I caught him watching an old wedding video on his phone. He paused it when I walked in, but not fast enough. I saw the look on his face. It wasn't surprise. It was pain. And I finally understood he knew. Not the details maybe, but he knew something was off. He wasn't stupid. He just didn't want to believe it. I think part of him hoped it would pass, that whatever was broken could still be fixed. He was holding on, quietly, while the rest of us fell apart. I wanted to scream. I wanted to go to her and demand answers. But I didn't. Instead, I doubled down on being there for him. We started having late-night talks. Nothing deep, just life stuff. But it mattered. He laughed more. He asked about my future. He even helped me update my resume. These weren't huge things, but they felt solid, real. And for once, I felt like I was helping him the way he'd always helped me. She started noticing, of course. My distance. My alliance. She tried to be sweeter, throwing casual questions my way, making my favorite food out of nowhere. I didn't take the bait. I wasn't ready to forgive or forget, not when I still saw the way she smiled at her phone and disappeared for hours. I stopped seeing her as my mom. That word used to mean warmth. Now it just meant complication. And still, my dad kept doing what he always did, loving, working, trusting. It broke me. I looked at this man who gave without asking for anything and realized I never truly saw how heavy his love was until now. And somehow, in all that weight, he still made space for me. Supporting him gave me purpose when everything else felt like a lie. I didn't tell him what I saw. I wasn't ready. But I knew then I'd choose him every time. It was a Wednesday night when it finally snapped. She was sitting on the couch, smiling at her phone like no one else was in the room. I watched her for a few seconds, my jaw clenched. I couldn't take it anymore. I asked her who she was texting. She looked up, startled, and said it was a friend. I asked which one. She narrowed her eyes and asked why I was being so invasive. I told her I saw her. Weeks ago. With him. Her face went pale, then blank, like she'd rehearsed this moment in her head. She stood up slowly and told me I didn't understand what marriage really was. I asked her how she could do it. How she could look at Dad every day and still go off smiling into someone else's arms. She didn't answer right away. Then she said Dad hadn't really been there for years, that he buried himself in work, left her feeling invisible, that she didn't plan it, but it just happened. I called it what it was, an excuse. A selfish excuse. I told her love isn't about being entertained every second. It's about being loyal when things aren't perfect. She scoffed and said I was just a kid, that I couldn't possibly understand what being a wife meant. I told her I understood what it meant to hurt someone who gave you everything. I told her I watched Dad cry in the dark when he thought no one was looking, that I saw the way he kept loving her even when she had clearly stopped trying. I said I hoped one day she'd realize how much she threw away. She started to raise her voice, defending herself, twisting timelines, making herself the victim. That's when Dad walked in. None of us noticed him until he spoke. His voice was calm, too calm. He said, "It's okay. Let her talk." She froze. I stepped back. For a few seconds, no one moved. Then he looked at her and said he knew. Maybe not all the details, but enough. He'd suspected for months. The distance, the phone habits, the energy that disappeared between them. He said he didn't confront her because he wanted to believe she'd come back on her own. That maybe she was going through something temporary. That maybe love was still enough. She started to speak, but he cut her off, not with anger, but with finality. He said pretending wasn't helping anyone anymore. That staying silent didn't fix broken things. That love, real love, didn't survive on lies. I stood there, watching my father, this quiet, steady man, finally let go. Not of his pride, but of a hope he knew had died long ago.
My mom didn't cry.
She just sat down slowly, like the weight had finally caught up to her. No one said anything else. The room was full, but it felt hollow. For the first time, I wasn't scared anymore. The truth was out. It didn't fix everything, but it cleared the air. And nothing was going to be the same again. Months passed. She moved out. Quietly, without drama. There was no big goodbye, no explanation. Just a message on the kitchen counter saying she'd come back for the rest of her things later. She did, once. We didn't talk. The house felt strange at first. Too clean. Too still. But over time, it stopped feeling like something was missing. It started to feel normal. Peaceful. I never realized how much energy she pulled out of a room just by being in it. Dad never talked badly about her. Not once. He just shifted. Started waking up even earlier. Took up running. Learned how to make new meals. Watched documentaries I never thought he'd be into. He didn't drown in sadness. He adapted. Slowly. Quietly. But completely. We started spending more time together.
Real time.
Talking about things that mattered. Laughing again. He asked questions about my life like he hadn't done in years. Maybe I hadn't noticed before, but it felt different now, like we both needed the connection more than ever. He stopped wearing his wedding ring after a while. No announcement, no ceremony. Just took it off one morning and never put it back on. I noticed, but I didn't ask. I didn't need to. One night, while we were fixing a leaky faucet together, he said, "I think we're going to be okay." Not I, but we. That stuck with me. Even after everything, he still saw us as a team. He wasn't the kind of person who let bitterness take over. And being around that kind of strength changed me. For the first time in a long time, I felt proud of who I was becoming. Not because I had the answers, but because I had clarity. I saw what love should look like, not flashy, not perfect, but consistent. Loyal. Quietly strong. Eventually, I started seeing someone. It was nothing serious at first, but I told Dad about it. He gave me that look, half grin, half concern, and asked me only one thing. "Do they make you feel seen?" I said yes. That was enough for him. I still think about everything that happened. I still feel a twist in my chest sometimes when I remember how it all unfolded. But I also know I made the right choice. I stood by the person who showed up every day, who gave love without asking for anything back. Supporting him didn't just help him. It helped me grow into someone I can actually respect. We didn't need revenge. We didn't need drama. We just needed space to heal. Now, when I hear him laugh, it doesn't feel weighed down. It feels real. And when people ask me what I learned from it all, I say this: love is tested when it's not easy. And loyalty, true loyalty, has a quiet power most people never understand. Supporting my dad made me feel great, honestly. Because sometimes, standing by the right person is the most powerful thing you can do.